Watering your crops in Scrap Mechanic Survival can be very time consuming if you just use a bucket. However, it's very easy to set up an automatic watering system that will water all your crops with a click of a switch. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your very own automatic watering system. If you do end up finding this video helpful, please click the like button and consider subscribing for more videos like this. Also, I do stream over on Twitch, link in the description below. Let's get started. So right now I'm standing inside of our farm, and as you'll see, we have 10 water cannons set up here, and what this system does is I click a switch and it waters all the crops. So we have a 10 by 10 patch here. Each one of these blocks is 5 by 5, so there's 4 blocks of 25. So we're gonna come over here and we're gonna click our switch. We have it labeled blue because we have a bunch of different switches here. And as you can see, it's watering the crops down here. So all the soil is already pre-watered in one click of a switch. That's all we have to do. So to show you how to build this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this system apart real quick and put it back together. So we're just gonna take our little block off here, and we're gonna take this down here and move it over here and show you exactly what's going on here. So we have 10 water cannons. So what you're gonna need for this system is you're gonna need 1 water cannon for each row of dirt soil that you have planted. So in this case, we have a 5 across and then 5 more across, so there's 10 wide. And we have them spread out so they're positioned so that the water cannon is pointing directly down at the plot of soil that's directly below it. And in the middle we have a sensor, and what this sensor does, because the water cannons don't know when to shoot, you have to set a sensor up so that when the sensor moves along this piston here, as it hits each one of these blocks, it will trigger the water cannon to shoot. So we've set up a block in the middle of each one of the soil plots. You can also do it by setting them up on the side, but it was just easier to just do this. So what you're gonna need to do is measure the distance from this block to your watering, to your sensor, and that's how far the sensor needs to be placed to. So in this case, ours I believe is placed to 13. We have to take it off here to look at it. So it's placed to 13. So if yours doesn't work, or if it's shooting on every single block, then you might need to adjust it up 1 or down 1. So basically just play with it until it works. And tailor it to the size of your garden. So if your garden only has five rows, then you just need 5 of these. If it only has 2, you only need 2. In this case, we have a 10 by 10, we have 10. You're also gonna need 1 switch, and what the switch is gonna do is it's gonna power the pistons that are connecting the watering system up top. So when you turn the switch on and off, all it's gonna do is turn the pistons on and off and push them along. So once again, you're gonna need a water cannon for each row that you're trying to water, and you're gonna need a sensor so that it knows when to sense. And this sensor, I believe, is level 5 because it's the maximum level. If you have it down lower, so if you had it down like here, then you could just use probably a level 1 sensor. So, and you also need to make sure you have it set to, I believe we have it set to button, so it's not really mattering what it is. So to put this back together, all we're gonna need to do is go back up top here. And in this case, the other thing you're gonna wanna consider is how far along it is. So because ours is going a full 100 here, or 10 blocks by 10 blocks, we actually have 2 pistons here, and they're set to maximum range in order to accommodate the entire farm. So we're gonna have that one set, and we're gonna set the other piston on here, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna weld this back on. And that's gonna be all we're gonna have to do. So let's turn it back off and bring it back to where it goes. And we're gonna go back here, and if you've never used the weld tool, basically all you do is point at the block you wanna connect. So in this case, I want this block to connect to that piston. And we're gonna go up here and we're gonna point it at the piston, make sure it's facing the right direction, which it is. And then we just have to go back and connect everything back up. So don't freak out, there's a lot of connections here. You're only gonna need to worry about these connections here. So the sensor, the piston's still connected, so we need to connect this piston to the switch also. And then what we also need to do is connect our water cannons to the sensor. So the sensor is right here in the center, it's the dark pink spot. Actually, that one's still connected, so make sure that the sensor is connected to each water cannon. And then the last step you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna connect the water cannon to a water container down here. So we have these water containers down here, and I've showed these in a previous example, or a previous video, when we were talking about how switches are used. So these water containers down here are connected to vacuum pumps, and they're constantly sucking in water. And what I do is I have 2 water cannons connected to each water container, and you should never run out of water, because these things fill back up pretty quickly. So like I said, I'd recommend probably, you might actually be able to get away with less than this. I just did it this way just to make sure we never run out of water, because at some point we might expand the farm. So I think I missed that one. So yep, I'm gonna connect that one. So real quick, all you need to do for this is you need to have the water cannons connected to a water source. And one main point you need to make sure you have covered here is they must be connected. They don't need to be connected by pipes. You can use pipes if you want to make them look. I had it like that before, but we actually took it off. As long as they're connected by some piece of building structure. So in this case, everything's connected to this metal structure here. This metal's connected to the concrete, and these water containers down here are touching the concrete. So in that case, it's actually connected, even though it's not really connected by pipes. Not sure in the future if they might actually make us use pipes, but you need to make sure that's happening. You need to make sure they're connecting, they're sucking in water, so you have to have a water or a vacuum pump connected to the front. And then you're going to need to connect the sensors to each one of the watering cannons. And you're going to make sure the water, the sensor is also, so let's take these off. Make sure the sensor is set to the proper distance. So you press E on that. In this case, it's set to 13 blocks. So as it goes along here, as it hits each one of these blocks that's raised up by a 1, it's going to water the crops, or water the soil, as we've already seen. And then last but not least, if you have a really wide watering system like this, I do recommend putting a beam on either side or down the middle, depending on how you have your sensor. Because what ends up happening if you don't, it could get too heavy and it can end up like going sideways or something. You definitely don't want to do that. Also, this makes it really easy in case the game bugs out, because every once in a while the pistons bug out and you might have to put this back together. And because I have this set up like this with the beams on both sides, I just weld it back up there and it just sits perfectly in place and moves back and forth. And then lastly, you want to make sure that the pistons are actually extended far enough. So we're going to open this thing back up, and you can make it actually move at a pretty high speed. It's going to water everything. So in this case, we just reconnected this piston. So what we want to do is we want to move it all the way out, and we're going to stay in the menu until it fully extends, because sometimes it doesn't fully extend. And we can actually increase the speed probably to like 2 or 3. This one's set to 1. We can set it to 2 or 3. So right now you'll see it's actually covering all of the plots down here, and actually we might be able to move it back 1, but we'll just leave it there for now. And we'll bring it back. And there it is. It is watering, and it's watering fast enough. So that's as simple as that. That's how we're watering our farm. And if you're gonna, even if you're using a small farm, this is so much faster than using a bucket. If you're using a bucket, you literally have to walk over, and if you're lucky, you might be able to hit 2 or 3 plots of soil. I think you may be able to hit 4, I'm not sure. But normally you're gonna hit 1 or 2, and it would just take forever to do that. So setting up something like this, you can do other systems where you can have it on a bearing and it just rotates up in squirts. You could actually be sitting up there in a seat and do it manually. This is the system we came up with because it's really simple, and if anything happens to it, it's really easy to put back. Basically, we just take this block off here, take it down and put it all back up, and it works perfectly fine. And this waters the crops in seconds. And if you have any other watering systems, make sure you share yours down in the comments below, because I'm definitely interested in trying out different things. I'm probably going to try one with a bearing to have it rotate up at some point, but we went with this because it was simple and it worked, and it tends to work pretty easily, and it doesn't bug out too often. So yeah, if you found this video helpful, please click the like button and consider subscribing for more videos like this. Also, I do stream over on Twitch, link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.